year in the US, we spend a massive amount of resources producing food that ends up in a landfill. And since over 1/3 of the food produced in America is never eaten, we're talking a lot of wasted resources. Enough water to supply more than 50 million homes, an agricultural land area the size of California and New York combined, and the energy and greenhouse gas emissions of over 42 coal-fired power plants. That's not even including what it takes to get that food to the landfill.
It's really depressing to visit landfills because we see all of those resources that are used on a daily basis being dumped in an open pit, and ultimately we're not able to capitalize on that process.
According to the EPA, food waste is the single most common material you'll find in a U.S. landfill. But one man's trash is another man's treasure.
We bring in about 500 tons of food waste at the moment a day. That's about 40 full tanker loads of food waste that come in here on a daily basis. We want to see about 250 more wet tons a day and ultimately use that waste in a way that allows us to produce things like renewable natural gas, electricity.
Electricity? Turns out food waste is a powerful thing. And as it sits in a landfill slowly decomposing, it generates methane, a major greenhouse gas contributor. But if processed differently, that same food waste can become powerful renewable energy.
This operation over here, this is the gas upgrading skid. So when the gas comes out of the digesters, it consists of about 65% methane. This allows us to pull all of the gases out that we don't need, as well as the water vapor, and ultimately allows us to produce a pipeline-ready gas.
Formed under a public-private partnership in 2019, Wasatch Resource Recovery is converting food waste into electricity for Salt Lake City and beyond.
We currently are producing about 1,000 decatherms a day, but when we're operating at full capacity, we'll be able to produce about 2,400 decatherms of renewable natural gas a day. And that's enough to provide natural gas needs to a community of about 30,000 people.
How the heck do you do that? Well, it's food waste. So we process it the same way humans would.
It's like a giant stomach?
It is like a giant stomach. Yes, it works much like a human digestion system. We have the same microorganisms in our bodies that we have in those digesters.
Right.
They break down that material in such a way that we're able to capture all of the gas that's produced in that process. The waste material comes through this building and we dewater it. So we essentially pull all of the liquids out of that material. You can see all of that material falling down.
Wow.
That's high agricultural soil amendment that is high in nutrients.
Oh, so a little bit like compost, maybe?
It's very similar to a compost product.
And farmers can use that to...
They love it. They use it as fertilizer on their crops.
Okay, it comes in as waste and then it goes out as a value?
That's true, yeah.
That's incredible.
So let's recap. We're talking anaerobic digestion. Organic waste goes into a grinder where it's chopped into small pieces, kind of like how we would chew our food. Then the mix is liquefied, using secondary water instead of potable or drinking water. The liquid material passes through a rotating screen to catch any remaining packaging or contaminants. And then it goes into the digester.
There are essentially 4 different types of feedstock that we bring into this facility. We bring in fats, oils, and grease. That's the kind of material that you pump out of a grease trap at a restaurant. We also bring in source-separated organics. That's the kind of material that we can bring in from restaurants and grocery stores, both pre-consumer and post-consumer. So we can bring in kitchen scraps as well as after-meal scraps that can be pushed into a food waste container. We bring in liquid food waste. Liquid food waste primarily comes from food manufacturing facilities, but we also get that material from distilleries as well as breweries. And then lastly, we get containerized beverages. That's material that comes in either aluminum cans or PET bottles or glass bottles. So we're able to capture all the liquids, send those into the digesters, while also capturing all the recyclables, selling those off to commodity buyers.
There are a number of waste streams that we're sending to Wasatch Resource Recovery. Spent yeast, unfermented malt sugar water, also our food scraps from our pub here, and some of the other industrial points. That's where Wasatch Resource Recovery comes in downstream, because we have ability to separate that waste, have cleaner water coming out of our facility.
We've been partnering with Uinta Brewing since November of 2019. They first approached us, asked us if there was an opportunity to introduce organic waste into our process.
So we developed a really great symbiotic relationship where they have what we need and we have what they need, and it creates a wonderful sustainable cycle.
Cucina has been a fantastic partner for us as well. They've been diverting food waste for over 15 years at this point. They recognize that they have an obligation to the community that they're serving to minimize the impact that they're having on the environment.
Uinta, Cucina, and so many more are partnering with Wasatch Resource Recovery to run their operations more sustainably.
Particularly in Utah, we recognize that there are issues with conservation, right? We're not getting as much rainfall as we used to. We recognize that the Great Salt Lake is drying up. We need to do a much better job of conserving resources and making the most of what we have. This facility is a great example of an opportunity to do that, right? We can capture waste that would normally be going to the landfill. We can process that waste. Ultimately, we can create fuels that allow us to progress as a community. We believe that there's a great opportunity to replicate projects like this. When we see these kinds of projects springing up all over the country, I think that's when we will have recognized the full potential of what we're doing here.
So did you think you'd be working in trash?
I have to say, I did not expect to be working in trash.
Do you have kids?
Yes, I have 2 kids.
And do they ever come to work with you?
They do. They would prefer not to come to work with me.
Doesn't smell great, but you know, it works. It works. It does the job.
It does.
I mean, I'm here for it.
We can smell those odors. We can recognize that that process has started. And for us, it smells like progress.
See, funny thing about love is you never really know when it's coming, but you better believe you'll know when it's there. True story.